Okay, it's recording.
I'm not a liar. It's funny, my Aunt Dan, my last uncle just passed, his husband, and she's from County Cork, Ireland, and she says, they're liars, they're liars.
Accent will do it.
Yeah.
By the way, I brought the map of 1783. It's, when you get a chance, if you want to look at it, it has Virginia. It has what claims each state had all the way to the Mississippi.
Oh wow.
Recording is on.
And Glenn was right about the Carolina Charter going all the way, but it just said to the South Sea.
Okay.
But I think the King of England was claiming something he had no right to past a certain point.
Okay.
That was in 1663 or whatever.
Like the Mississippi River or something?
No, he was claiming from the Atlantic to the
Pacific, right. But I'm saying he should have stopped at the Mississippi, or?
Well,
Yeah.
that was in the 1600s. By the time 1783 came along, that's the map of what everyone had agreed to. What states had what. For example,
1683, did they knew there was a
Morning.
Yeah,
I think they'd already done some surveying across the continent. I forget the dates for that.
let's,
for example, Massachusetts claimed all the way to
Clark
the
and
Mississippi
Livingston.
across Lake
They did a lot of surveying.
Michigan, maybe, if
right,
that's
but
what
that
it
was
is.
in which
Mhm.
years?
I think it's crazy what they were claiming.
1700s.
I don't remember.
Georgia went from here all the way to here.
Wow.
You had South Carolina, North Carolina to here. And then this was all Virginia. Virginia had up here too.
Mm.
I think that might have been the Virginia Company.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that sounds like what I remember hearing when I was reading about King James started in that. And the whole thing became a company.
Okay, so this is called the administrative procedure. We should be able to go through this one pretty quick and still cover trusts without too much trouble. If that's the other one that we want to cover, or if that's what everybody wants to cover. First of all, I'm not a liar. Well, I meant a lawyer. No, I meant a liar. You should never take my word for anything. You should always do your own research. I provided references to aid you in your research, but I don't know everything. I'm open to ideas. This is a procedure that someone that I met used to get himself and 17 other people out of jail. And then he collected on the bonds of approximately 40 government officials. He collected on it. They paid him. They were glad to pay him. Okay? And the reason is that he was letting them off the hook for a lot less than what they were really liable for. And it uses affidavits. It's very similar to the commercial lien process. It's comprised of 6 separate steps. Each affidavit is served by certified mail. Okay, so you don't use registered mail, you use certified mail. You do not need to use third-party witnesses, but you can if you wish, but that makes it more expensive.
So there's no need for a notary?
Yeah, that's right. Other than to get your affidavits, they're notarized.
No, but you don't need a notary presentment, in other words. A notary
No.
doesn't have to sign. Okay.
No.
Okay, good.
Copies of these documents, actually, that's this group at Yahoo is going to be deleted here in next month, or in next month now, because we're in November now.
Yeah.
The directory has been already deleted at Yahoo. For a complete set of YouTube videos with private information, shares a DVD with over 50 searchable law dictionaries and other books and forms, contact me privately at engineerwin@yahoo.com. And donations to support this work are appreciated. I prefer gold to silver coin, but as an extreme list dissolvable alternative, I can accept the Federal Reserve notes, the military script, the IOUs, the PayPal gifts, checks, money orders, etc. Send me an email for particulars. Now, so there's some court cases that you have to understand. We'll go through some of that, first of all. This is actually a pretty short presentation, and then I actually have some of the Word files, and we can go through them real quick, and you can see how they work, okay, because it's very simple. This procedure is very simple. And once you get your basic affidavit put together, then it's just a matter of sending out the mails. And you can actually get it done in about 60 days, 60 to 90 days at the most. Okay? And then you're ready to file a lawsuit, because you got to file a lawsuit.
Right.
Anyways,
By the way, when you do go to the judge, or, because I had heard that it's basically when it gets to the point, the judge basically is, he's just signing for,
yeah,
So
you
you
get
get a lien?
it, once you have done it all, I mean, it's a foregone conclusion.
right.
Okay? Yes.
Then you have to go with the lien.
This would be basically your alternative to becoming a secured party creditor, right? Is that basically this would be instead of doing that process?
Well, a secured party creditor is basically a preventative thing, okay, if you're in the commercial end of things.
Which
I've actually-
which you are, right? Technically,
I've
All
actually,
are.
I've done that, but I wouldn't do it again.
Yeah, I did it too.
Yeah,
and now
yeah, so I understand people doing that,
Yes.
but that's, again, it's international law.
Okay.
And I wouldn't do it again. I don't think it's necessary. There's a lot of things that people have you do that I don't think is necessary. They already know that the people are sovereign. They know all the stuff that you're going to tell them, but they think that you volunteered to be one of the slaves, and so. So then really all you need is an affidavit of corporate denial and a statement of original status showing that your ancestors were here prior to the War of Independence, which ties you in by right of blood, and that creates big problems for them, you know, and because they all have an oath of office,
Yeah.
and so that creates big problems for them, and you know, so anyways. Affidavits are commercial. They are commercial. There's no doubt about it. Matter of fact, some people like to use the word declaration. It's up to you. Declarations are common law. You can use witnesses, but I like using a notary. Okay, a notary is an officer of the court, and so you're kind of in their face when you do that. And I'm kind of in your face sort of guy, you know.
Just
Anyways.
on that one, Glenn, because I don't mind using witnesses.
Yeah, well, that's fine. You can.
Minimum 2 witnesses.
Yes, exactly.
As far as I'm concerned.
Minimum 2, preferably 3 or more, even.
Yeah. I've gotten away with the minimum 2.
Yeah.
And used that process rather than notaries.
Right.
On a lot of occasions, because as far as I'm concerned, that's the same thing. It's whatever you're saying
Right.
in affidavit form,
Right.
and I don't like the affidavit of truth because affidavits are truth, so it's an affidavit. But whatever you're saying, however you finish it, is either with a notary or a declaration with witnesses. And,
Right.
to me, it's the same thing.
As long as you have 3 witnesses or more
2
available.
witnesses or more.
2
Two witnesses or more. The Bible
Right.
says, out of the mouth of 2 or 3
Two.
witnesses shall all things be established.
That's correct.
And it all really comes from the Bible. Okay, once you understand what's going on, it's all coming from the Bible. Even this is all satanic,
Right.
but even Lucifer has to do what God says he has to do. You know, that's kind of an interesting point. You see what I'm saying? Everything they do is based on God's law.
And rules.
That's right. They try and get you into what they view to be a contract. Is what they do.
Then they still don't really honor it, like, you know.
That's again.
And they
they're
say you're in
Satanists.
dishonor.
They're
Like, well, you're
Satanists.
not honorable.
They're a bunch of they're thieves and pirates is what they are,
Right.
and so you know,
They like to sit up in high places too, right?
yeah.
Look down, yeah.
Yeah, don't get me going. You're going to get me going here. Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow me on Steam It. Don't forget to like this video on YouTube. Don't forget to click the bell next to the subscribe button so you're notified when there's a new upload on Steam It. Don't forget to vote, make any comments. And I've got a BitChute profile, but BitChute doesn't allow you to upload more than a half a gigabyte. And a lot of my videos are more than a gigabyte, so I don't really upload a lot of stuff to BitChute. This is my webpage, and the subscribe button's already clicked because otherwise it'd be red, and the bell is not clicked. The arrow's pointing at the bell. When you click the bell, you got to select all notifications. Anyways, So affidavits are considered evidence if properly done, okay? And so that's why you need to, you make statements of fact, you avoid opinion, you avoid conclusions, you support every statement. You always keep copies of everything, keep copies of proof of service, okay? So I always send the green card with the certified mail, so then I get that green card back. And if you don't get the green card back, you go to the post office within I think you have to go there within like 30 days, but you can actually get that refunded, and that kind of slaps them, and they make sure you get the green card back next time.
Question, because they're doing right now is I sent those out, and it comes back. I said, what the heck? I didn't know what it said. And COVID-19. In other words, they're not having the people where they're. I asked a couple of people. I said, well, you're sort of a waste in a way because you're not proof. The fact that it was delivered, certified, or whatever is the fact that. Is that good enough, or should you still do the
Well,
card?
you can print off the web page showing it's been delivered, but I would put the green card anyways, and if they're not going to, I'd ask the clerk, okay, when you buy it, when you pay for that, is ask them, are you going to get a green card back or what?
Yeah.
Because if you're not going to get it back, you're not going to pay for it, otherwise you're going to have to come in and get a refund, and tell them that.
If you get the card back, but the post deliverer puts COVID-19 on it. In other words, they write. And it wasn't signed by anybody at the other end. That's all. That's what I mean.
Well, not necessarily. The post office is saying they delivered it.
Okay.
And it's not signed by anybody, but
okay.
It may not be signed by anybody. Actually, everything I've been getting, of course, I haven't done anything. Let's see. I can't remember if I've done anything in the last 6 months or the last 9 months. I can't remember.
Okay. But I guess if you're getting it back and it is stamped by the post office, the date
if
that
the post office says it's been delivered, then it's been delivered. Then you have their. But you're right. If they're putting COVID-19 on it, then makes you wonder. Maybe they have an electronic signature. They might have it electronically. Sometimes they do that, and so then that'll be on the website too.
But if you should send it certified, you have tracking. You can track that was delivered on that date. So
absolutely, the postal website, you do that all the time.
But
I do it all the time.
Then do you really need the green card? Is what I'm saying, unless they're going to sign it.
Well, every little bit of
every little bit helps.
But again, you're right. It's up to you. Again, with any lawsuit, a lawsuit is just allegations, right? You allege this, you allege that. If you send them, in the lawsuit, you put the affidavit in there, and you say it was received, and the post office's website say it was received, and so you just let them deny it. We don't know anything about this. Let them deny it. Okay, if they don't deny it, it's admitted as the truth. Okay, so again, it's just allegations until they don't deny it. Anyways, the important thing is keep good records. My blog is sovereigntyinternational.wordpress.com. My website is sovereigntyinternational.fyi. My email address is engineerwin@yahoo.com. My YouTube profile is Sovereign Living. Sovereignty International YouTube profile is deleted. Let's just go ahead and delete that. My Facebook community page is deleted due to censorship. My private group, Sovereignty International at Facebook, is being deleted. My Yahoo private group is deleted after December 2020.
Missed the E.
Yep, you're right. Anyways, and follow me on Twitter at Engineer Win, and I got the Google group. So step one is you make an affidavit of complaint. And you wait 30 days. And then you add in one paragraph to that document. And you make a second affidavit of complaint. And you wait another 30 days. Step 3 is an affidavit of default. You take the first affidavit, the second affidavit of complaint that you added something in, you add in one paragraph, and you call that an affidavit of default. And you wait 10 days for that one. And then you add in one paragraph, and you make an affidavit of acceptance, and you serve that on them, and you wait another 10 days. And I always like to give them a little bit extra, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so they can't say, you know, something. So I always, you know, I give it extra. And once it shows delivered on the post office's website, you know, what I might do is once it shows delivered, I give them 10 days. Or once it shows delivered, I give them 30 days. You see
If
what I'm
I've done
saying?
it, I say, within the statement itself, 10 days, you have 10 days from date of delivery.
Yeah.
And they-
Anyways,
They know exactly at that point, so it's not date of postage or date of the affidavit itself, it's date of delivery.
so the affidavit of acceptance is 10 days, and then there's an affidavit of truth. That's the last one. And then, once you got that one, you file a lawsuit. And what I would do is attach the affidavit of truth in the lawsuit, explain the procedure and what happened, and so the lawsuit really wouldn't have to be very big either. The difference between the 5 affidavit steps is 1 paragraph. Every time you add 1 paragraph, and that's it. Otherwise, it's identical. You add additional people. If you add additional people, the difference between the basic affidavit and the affidavit for additional parties is 1 paragraph. In other words, the guy that actually did it is the guy that caused you injury. Like with Nelson, the guy that actually arrested him is the guy that injured him. But that guy was working under supervision of some other people and his boss, and so then that's when you add in these other people, you send them separate affidavits, and the only difference between the complaint is 1 paragraph. It's pretty slick.
Well, let me ask you, what are you adding, like if you're dealing with just one individual, unless their court attorney gets involved, if you're doing the same thing, you're dealing, nothing's changed there, so what do you put in that extra paragraph?
You'll see.
Oh,
Okay, relax.
okay.
We'll get there.
Getting there, don't jump.
Okay.
Check out my other videos, Banks to Thieves playlist, Roman Cult playlist, Bankrupt Corporate So-Called Governments, Bar Members 1 through, actually it's 5 now. Matter of fact, let's change that. I think it's 6 even, so, but we'll put 5. Do it yourself, how not to volunteer for the selective service in the draft, martial laws here, do it yourself, no income tax, do it yourself, free mail, do it yourself, kangaroo courts 1 through 19. Canada Border Pigs playlist, Bar Members and their Satanic Connections playlist. So then, what you do is you attach your evidence, which is your affidavits, your proof of service, and you just ask the court for a declaratory judgment. That's all you want. Okay? Now, the requirements for declaratory judgments are very specific. And they don't have much wiggle room. And so that's why that's what you do. These judges are not, they're a bunch of thieves too themselves. And so when you ask for a declaratory judgment, then that's all they can do.
And that's based on the actual injuries that you've declared, or what's the?
Yeah, basically, yeah. And so what'll happen, well, we'll talk about that.
Right, thank you.
When you get the declaratory judgment, their liars will want to settle the matter, and the terms of the settlement are as follows. You want their bond, not a penny more, not a penny less, okay? That's important to put that in there, okay? Because then it's talking about coin, okay? So you want their bond, not a penny more, not a penny less. You want a handwritten letter of apology. You want a letter of reprimand entered into the employee file. You want restitution of actual damages, and you want all judgments previously entered in the matter to be vacated. In other words, if they convicted you of something, you want it vacated. They will gladly provide all of this because it is way less than what they're actually exposed to. Okay?
Is this only for criminal matters?
It can be for any matter, but it's any matter with the government, with government employees, since you're going for a bond. Of course, insurance is a bond too. So anything with government employees is usually winds up being criminal. But it could really be anything.
Let me ask you, I'm sorry.
I'm thinking anything with your name in capitals.
Sorry?
Anything basically with your name in capitals, would that be sort of right?
Yeah. Well, they always put it in capitals.
Right.
You know, they got liars. And matter of fact, I'd invite the liars. The liars are officers of the court. They're supposed to know the law. They're required to know the law. And so, if they're violating your rights, then they're mixed up in it. You know, I'd go after the liars. I love going after the liars.
Okay.
Anyways,
If you're in one state and this individual that you say in my case is the other state, and the entity or the property in the third state, where do you get relief as far as when you get to that
that'd be
point?
federal court, obviously.
So you're not going to one state or the other.
If it's anything interstate, then it's feds.
It's feds. Okay.
Now this is an idea of damages, okay? And where to find it. 18 U.S.C. 3571. Basically, if you go to 18 U.S.C. 3571, we can go there. Let's stop sharing. And then reshare this web page. Yeah. There we go. Oops, that's not what I want to do. There we go.
We're at 18 USC.
3571. Sentence. Sentence of fine. So this is, and this is why you use this, because this is what judges are supposed to sentence people. So, I mean, that's perfect. See what I'm saying? So for any felonies, it's $250,000. For misdemeanor resulting in death, not more than $250,000. For a Class A misdemeanor that does not result in death, that's not more than $100,000. And fines for organizations, if it's a corporation, well then a felony is $500,000. Okay, so that's where you get it from. And so.
What do you consider Class A misdemeanor as far as like,
If you go to your state statutes, okay, or federal statutes, it'll tell you what's a Class A misdemeanor, you know, depending on the type of offense.
Right.
If it's something that they can put you in jail for, or like anything in 18 USC is a felony, okay? And so, because they can take away property or freedom.
Right.
Okay, anything that they can take away property or freedom is a felony by definition.
Okay.
Okay, and so actually that wouldn't necessarily, but certainly jail. Jail is definitely a felony. Anything they can jail you for is a felony.
Okay.
If it's a Class A, the misdemeanors are fines, and so depending on how big the fine is and all that stuff, right? So it's all in what you can show, but that's where it comes from. That's 3571.
So it's typically someone who is like refuses to return funds for something that's found to be invalid, like a contract. That's considered some kind of a misdemeanor then? I mean, or is that worse?
Depends what you can prove. 'cause
Like what?
technically it
If,
could
like
be
in my
theft or
situation,
fraud.
you prove someone, hey, didn't return deposits X amount of dollars, what is that considered? In other words, you prove that they had.
Yeah, that's basically theft, but again, it's a civil matter. You got to sue them.
So it's not a criminal matter, it's a civil.
It's yeah.
Mhm.
Well, yeah,
Depends on
it's civil.
depends
matter.
whether you can prove intent.
Yeah.
Okay.
If it was their original intent to deprive you of that
If
money
they-
without
Well,
giving
So
it you
again,
back,
that's why you use that administrative procedure.
Well, saying if they, no, they,
Because-
okay, they didn't intend it initially, say, but they found out later that it was incorrect, and they refused to return it. Then what is that? That's
Again, that's why the administrative procedure is going to actually show intent, because if
Okay.
you go and follow that administrative procedure, and you go through step by step and show
Okay.
that they committed felonies by not paying you, reimbursing that
right,
to you.
right.
Well,
So we're talking about a serious
and
matter.
they don't do it.
Yeah.
They still don't do it. If they go ahead and send you the money when you're halfway through that procedure, well, then you're not damaged anymore, right?
Other than the time frame, right? Other than the time
Oh,
frame.
whatever.
Right.
But again, so then that's if your cost of your expenses in the matter, then that would be separate. I would start a different procedure for the expenses associated.
Okay.
You know, but if your expenses really certified mail and all that are minimal.
Right. No, it's more of a time value. In other words, you had opportunity to do something here, you missed out. It's double or triple with this. That's what I'm saying. In other words, most people say I can't do that because I don't know how to do that.
I would. It's going to be hard to prove any sort of exemplary damages until you can show that they knew exactly what they were doing,
Yeah.
and they did it anyways.
Right.
You know.
Okay. All right. Well, at a minimum, you get the
Right.
primer
So
back.
these are my. Well, Bitme got shut down.
I never heard of that, did you?
Yeah, that's quite a while ago.
Well, is there any reason that this to do with the censorship, or is it just because it's more volume that they can handle?
What's that?
That they're closing down, or they dropped you type of thing. In other words, is it that you have so much material that they can't
No.
accept that, or
No,
just,
they got lots of room.
okay,
YouTube is right now, what they've done is they've blocked me out of my profile, where they're making me sign in, and then they're saying, well, we can't verify it's you. And so they're basically locked me out of my profile, but my videos are still up because I checked. And so they haven't shut anything down, they're just locking me out of it.
they just want you to put anything new
They're
on.
harassing me, is what
Jasmine
they're
did
doing.
that to me just now. I think they, periodically, they make you do it. Like, I didn't want to change my password or...
Well, it's not
I just
changing
had to do it when
password.
I-
They're not asking me to change my password.
Oh, okay.
It's the information you're
Oh.
putting up, because I know a medical doctor
Okay.
who deals in alternative zone. He's a brilliant man, and he's banned it. Like I said,
Yeah,
he's a Christian. He a guy called it.
right.
You try.
They didn't make me, but I ended up having to change it. I couldn't remember it. Because
Yeah.
they were asking for
I know, that's
the
a major pain in
verification.
the butt too, but they're not
Yeah.
asking me to change my password.
Okay.
Anyways, I've got a bunch of exclusive videos. I've got subscription channels. I have 2 subscription levels, and I accept cryptocurrency. The basic subscription level is $29.99 a year for the videos only, and the platinum subscription level is $49.99 a year for the videos plus unlimited consultations. Now, when I say unlimited consultations, there's a limit.
Right. I was gonna say yeah.
Just
And
like
so,
the government.
because I'm not a liar, well, I meant a lawyer. No, I meant a liar.
Yeah.
Anyways, but I can tell you what I would do under certain circumstances and where to find the forms.
Okay.
Now, but, that doesn't include, babysitting, okay?
Right.
And it doesn't include phone calls, okay? It's by email only. And if you want to know whether you want to notarize something or use witnesses, that's babysitting, okay?
Yeah.
And so you got to make your own decisions about that. I can tell you what I would do under a certain circumstance, and I can tell you where to find the forms or send you the forms. But that doesn't include babysitting, and that means certainly 20, 30 emails a day. That's babysitting.
Right.
Anyways, so there's people are on other subscription plans, remain on that plan. Actually, that's pretty old. So there's unlimited consultations, does not include phone calls, does not include babysitting, does not include preparing documents or reviewing documents. If you want me to do that stuff, then that requires a donation. The only power that these New World Order Satanists have over us is through fraud and deception. And my agenda is to expose it for all our benefit, but I cannot fight all the battles. I need other people being on point. And So some of my exclusive content is bar members, attorneys, number 4, Arlington Private Information Share, land deed training, estoppel certificates training, foreclosure estoppel certificates training, corporate denial training, toll roads notice and demand training, invoice training, notice of void judgment training, revocation of signatures training, third-party witness training, federal habeas corpus training, revocation of voter registration training, criminal complaint training. There's actually several videos on that. Lawsuit training, there's one video. There's probably going to be more. Lawsuits are, you know, there's a lot to it, actually.
Now, did you say anything about copyright? In other words, if you had your name was copyrighted, and you get a letter from an attorney representing somebody, bottom line is, you know, he should know, or if you send anything back to the other person with using the copyright symbol, and they send you something and they don't acknowledge that or whatever, they're infringing on your, or what? How's that?
But then how is anyone to address you if
Well,
your name is copyrighted?
if they're a lawyer, they're not supposed to address me.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So bottom line is you have recourse there if they do that, if an attorney does that. Right? It's one thing if someone...
I've never seen anybody collect on a copyright for a
Okay.
name. Okay, now movie stars have done it, certainly. They hire lawyers.
Yeah. Liars.
Liars, that's right. I've never seen anybody, there is such a thing as a common law copyright, and you know, with commercial entities, like I'll get maybe something, who knows, from, maybe it's a, who knows what, third-party debt collector, okay? I'll send them a copyright notice and an invoice, and a lot of times they kind of go away and I never hear back from them.
Yeah,
you know?
one way.
But you know, because the stuff is powerful. But I've never collected on anything. I've never seen anybody else collect on it.
But an attorney would shut down then, and they would send them back an invoice.
Actually, I think their oath of office is way better, way more effective with lawyers.
Okay.
You go after their oath of office and start filing bar complaints and that kind of stuff,
Okay.
and that gets their attention big time.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Anyways, all forms, files, and other instructions are available on my website. Because the files were taken down on Yahoo, and so I put a lot of files on my website.
Was it the same thing? They think they would
No,
censor?
Yahoo is basically shutting down their groups. Okay, so they got bought out by somebody, and who knows what they'll do? Maybe they'll shut the whole website down.
Yeah. They don't want to.
They're basically shutting everything down, and so they're shutting down all the stuff that's. I guess they're eliminating anything that doesn't actually bring them a lot of money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so whatever. I guess they're going to have to. But the bottom line is they're shutting the groups down. They removed the files directory, and they're shutting the groups down.
Well, either that or
It's
some-
ending next month.
Something
So,
else is happening in this country, in this world.
Who knows?
They don't want. Right. Sounds like.
I have no
they buy
idea.
companies and then they shut down their services. So
Yeah.
Google, Microsoft, all the big monopolies basically buy all the smaller ones, shut down their services, and then you've got eliminate competition.
Right.
And then you've got less places.
But
The
Google
biggest
is,
thing with Microsoft right now that's pissing me off big time is that they're getting people to sign in. When you get Microsoft Office 2016 and above,
I know.
you sign into an account.
Yeah, I know.
With Windows itself, you sign into an
Each
account.
time you use it, you're saying?
If you do it wrong, yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
really?
Well, it stays signed in every time you open the computer and
Right.
open up Office.
Right.
It connects to their servers.
Yeah.
So everything you're doing, it's backing up on their servers.
Right.
You're giving them all your
You give
goddamn
them
information.
You give them everything.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
And people don't realize it.
I don't.
It pisses me off.
That's why I don't set up. I don't set up like on this computer. I don't sign into Microsoft when I went and that's one reason I have this computer. And you can actually not do that. okay, but it's not
Make it-
easy.
Yeah, they make it very
They
hard.
make it
it's
very
like small
difficult.
text. Click
Yeah.
here. You go through about 3 different or 4 different
Yeah,
menu items before you get to the bit where you can actually sign in. And then when you do create and sign in, they want you to go through a process of creating a password recovery process. So you've got to put in, you know,
yeah.
what name of my first dog bullshit.
Well, what about using something like Adobe? One of the, like they have Open Office or anything like that? Is that? I mean, obviously,
Open Office
Adobe's
and
doing the
LibreOffice.
same thing.
you do the same
Yeah,
thing.
everything. Well, all the big ones are trying to get them to sign in on accounts. So
Right.
you're logging into this.
So they're basically, you're having to, they want you to have a subscription. Because they're,
I'm running to
again,
places which require now you to show proof of digital form ID, like a picture of your driver's license.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Well, on that, who's doing that?
There's a lot of them are doing
Online
that.
services.
I don't give them that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But at any rate, so that's where they're going with it. Qualified immunity protects government officials from liability for civil damages insofar as their conduct does not violate clearly established statutory or constitutional rights of which a reasonable person would have known. And so again, that's the purpose of this administrative procedure, is to show step by step why they're violating your rights. Qualified immunity defense fails if public officer violates clearly established right of a reasonable, competent official should know the law governing his conduct. A plaintiff who seeks damages for violation of constitutional rights or statutory rights may overcome the defendant's official's qualified immunity only by showing that those rights were clearly established at the time of the conduct at issue.
Just in when I was talking yesterday about that with the process that I go through for the vehicle stops and stuff with documentation and notice of officials and the like, that chapter right there covers that whole thing, because what you're doing is you're telling them, if they don't already know, then you're telling them, you're advising them, giving them notice. And if they continue, then they're in breach. And that's where you get them, because you establish your rights and notice them right from the very beginning. And if they don't back off, then that's when they're almost definitely, evidentially,
They got a problem.
breach. They've got a problem because they're breaching your
You got to
rights
be
then.
detailed. You have to make sure, and you have to record. And
You
put
have to record it
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
That's the best way to do it.
Okay, so this is the actual complaint, certified mail. Jeff McCoy, DBA, doing business as Kirk County Investigator, badge number 9722, Kirk County Sheriff's Office, address. Indeed, no more than affidavits are necessary to make a prima facie case. That's U.S. Supreme Court case. Actually, that's federal courts.
Okay.
Is that
Versus KISS.
U.S. versus KISS, yeah. Anyways, and so then, this is, I, living, breathing man, first duly sworn, deposed, say and declare by my signature the following facts are true, correct, complete, and the best of my knowledge and belief. So you just go through, a lot of this stuff is very, very straightforward. And then it goes into the 1836, this is in Texas. So you just want to find something similar in whatever state you're in, right? The Bill of Rights, basically the Bill of Rights.
Yeah,
So then-
the state constitution
Yeah.
could well have it written
So-
correctly.
The preamble, this is the actual guy that caused the damage, okay? So this is the basic criminal complaint, the guy that actually did the damage, okay? And so the preamble is real short and sweet. I'm amazed as sworn peace officers, and then basically on February 14, 2015, you, Jeff McCoy, entered the VFW post, Brazos County, 76 North, FM 2818, Bryan, Texas, where a peaceful assembly of people was being held. You, Jeff McCoy, stated you're serving a search warrant, that you were going to collect property, information, documents from all the people in the room, And when prompted for the warrant, your reply was, you'll receive the warrant when I'm done. And I witnessed you, Jeff McCoy, never informing the people in the room, those not named to the warrant are free to go. I witnessed you never informing the people they could stay and witness if they wished. I witnessed you never informing the people in the room of their rights. I witnessed you never offering counsel before the questioning started. I witnessed you. See, again, this is all, you're just building a case. Okay, step by step. Every last little thing. Okay? I mean, this thing's 28 pages long. Okay?
Wow.
I witnessed you ordering people to file out of the room to be processed to obtain IDs, seize property, take fingerprints, and take statements. You, Jeff McCoy, know or ought to know that if I'm not free to go, then I'm arrested. Any restraint, however slight upon another's liberty to come and go as one please constitutes an arrest. You, Jeff McCoy, know or ought to know that an unlawful arrest is an assault, and an illegal arrest is an assault and battery. Each person has a right to resist an unlawful arrest. In such a case, the person attempting arrest stands in the position of a wrongdoer. I witnessed you, Jeff McCoy, assault me with approximately 30 other people. You, Jeff McCoy, knew or ought to know that the assault is a breach of the peace. The breach of the peace takes place when either assault is committed on an official. And as a peace officer, you're the one who's supposed to keep the peace, even under your own color of law, Texas Code of Criminal Procedure. I witnessed you, Jeff McCoy, breach the peace. You, Jeff McCoy, knew or ought to know that kidnapping is defined as forcing somebody. And what I would do if I did this again, okay, is I'd add in stuff about international law, because that meeting was a Republic of Texas meeting, okay? So that's felonies that he's involved in now. And he had a court order from a judge, so now that judge is required, he's a bar member, he's required to know the law, and that judge is implicated in the felonies. And that judge is required to know the law, so he can't weasel out of it now. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
I witnessed you, Jeff McCoy, knew or ought to know that kidnapping is defined as forcing someone to go where they do not want to go. And I witnessed you, Jeff McCoy, kidnap me and approximately 30 other people when you forced us to your interrogation room to have my image, fingerprints, cell phone, laptop, computer, Republic of Texas identification card, laptop case, and contents willfully and unlawfully and illegally taken. You, Jeff McCoy, knew or ought to know that when a judge is dealing with a statute and the judge ceases to be a judge and becomes a clerk, and here's court cases that talk about it, you, Jeff McCoy, knew or ought to know that a clerk cannot do anything judicial, and that the clerk masquerading as a judge tries to do anything judicial, it's a nullity. You, Jeff McCoy, knew or ought to know that the crime alleged in the so-called search warrant is the statutory crime of simulating legal process, which is codified at Texas Penal Code 32.4. I witnessed you, Jeff McCoy, execute a bogus fraudulent search warrant. I witnessed you, Jeff McCoy, simulate legal process. He was the one that was simulating legal process. You, Jeff McCoy, knew or ought to know that my fingerprints are my property and my image is my property. You, Jeff McCoy, knew or ought to know that theft is defined as taking somebody's property under false pretenses. I witnessed you, Jeff McCoy, engage in unlawful seizure of my property, including but not limited to my image several times, my fingerprints, my cell phone, my Republic of Texas identification card, my laptop computer with software, my laptop computer carrying case, and the contents of the carrying case. You, Jeff McCoy, knew or ought to know that false statement is restraining somebody without justification. False imprisonment is restraining somebody without justification or consent. I witnessed you, Jeff McCoy, falsely imprison me and approximately 30 other people. You, Jeff McCoy, knew or ought to know that disrupting a meeting is, and this is under Texas Penal Code, disrupting a meeting. I witnessed you, Jeff McCoy, disrupt a meeting. You, Jeff McCoy, knew or ought to know that Article 4, an amendment to the Constitution of the United States, says the right of the people to be secure in their possessions, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable search and seizure shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue, but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. And their warrant, this is the text of the warrant. It doesn't say anything about the persons or things to be seized.
Anyways, is an open warrant?
Well, it's not. There is an actual warrant. They were interested in Susie Kamak and David Krupa, which I'm not even sure if they were there, but that doesn't say me.
Yeah.
Anyways,
God, this guy really thorough. I mean, you'd have to be taking either mental notes or have photographic memory or recording this somehow to be able to have.
this is mine that I did.
Oh, you did this.
I did it.
Okay.
What happened to you, right?
You got a photograph?
Yes, exactly. It happened to me.
It happened to you.
Wow.
That's right.
Okay.
You know what happened.
So anyways, I go through step by step, and it's 28 pages long, okay, and show how he committed multiple felonies, okay? And so this is basically, and then what you do, okay, so this is 28 pages long. And I put in this, there's a statement of original status, showing that my ancestors were here prior to the War of Independence. This is like really powerful. And how he's in breach of trust. You, Jeff McCoy, knew, know, or ought to know that corporations called United States Inc., State of Texas Inc., Judiciary Courts of State of Texas Inc., and County of Kerr Inc. are all ultra vires without anybody's authority, and it's ultra vires of your authority to communicate with me as an agent of such entity. You know or ought to know that you're an agent of Kirk County Sheriff's Office. Certain duties and responsibilities have been entrusted to you, and a breach of trust is, I witnessed you, Jeff McCoy, breach the trust. And so I basically go through and just kind of spell it out. Know or ought to know the Texas Code of Procedure has an emergency clause, and emergency is justification for nothing. Therefore, it's another reason why Texas Code of Criminal Procedure is a fraud and a nullity. It's color of law. There are no authority to use anything in the Texas Code of Criminal Procedure against me or any state citizen. You, Jeff McCoy, knew, know, or ought to know that your color of law, Texas Code of Criminal Procedure, requires that you have probable cause to even ask for a search warrant. My property and my appellation are not even mentioned in your fraudulent fictitious search warrant. I witnessed you, Jeff McCoy, secure execution of a document by fraud and deception. So I basically go through this whole thing, right?
Wow.
Anyways, it's 28 pages.
He has a chance to rebut any of your statements.
He doesn't rebut one word.
Let's see.
It's all true.
That's right.
Does he answer it at all?
No.
Just ignores it.
I sent, I'll show you.
And this is all included in the flash drives?
He figures, how am
Yeah.
I going to answer this?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's on those, in those files. Yeah, these documents here. I think it's the Jeff McCoy ones, actually, that I put in there. I actually did this against banks. I did it against a bunch of people. But I didn't finish some of them. My biggest problem is that I don't pay filing fees. And so then when I file a lawsuit, the court won't proceed. And anyway, so
Well,
don't get me going.
But,
So
does,
get-
but
but that-
does it go as far as stopping anyone who...
And in hindsight, I wouldn't put
trying
this.
to follow the wrongdoing?
You would put it without prejudice?
I
Okay.
wouldn't put that.
No,
And-
because
and I'll do a
without,
video.
without prejudice wipes the whole document.
It eliminates your signature.
Okay.
There's no signature.
There's no signature.
So then there's no document.
Right. Okay.
And so, yeah. I
Do you
would-
put by on there? By? B-Y?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you can do that. Anyways, what were you saying? Okay.
Yeah, 'cause I have a situation that, as I go back, I'm thinking, I had someone who was not, this is something else, okay, it's similar to what, except it's something that I was supposed to get money back on, never got it back. Bottom line is, the guy got an
Something
attorney
that they are
involved,
handing me to sign?
lied about the whole damn
They
thing, sent it to a
didn't do
bank,
anything.
the bank took money, whatever was in the
It's all
account,
rights reserved.
it wasn't enough
without
to
prejudice.
fulfill it, so then they closed the account,
Preferable.
and they basically, whatever. They say,
Converted it over to the attorney.
Exactly. So I basically have recourse to go after the bank, the attorney, and this other guy, right?
And I'd use this. I've
Okay.
used this against banks.
Okay.
And I've used it, yeah.
Then the
Credit
attorney
cards.
wrote me a letter back and said, "Well, we'll give you," and I said, "I'm not going to accept. I'm not going to accept portion. I want either the whole thing back or Well,
And that's when you file bar complaints.
Okay.
I mean, there's all sorts of stuff you can do with that.
okay.
Do you have examples of bad complaints?
I do, but I don't think that they're in that thumb drive, but I'll be glad to send them to you. But every state's going to be different. what I do with the bar complaint, like in Texas, it's a 5-page form, and you have to handwrite the stuff in there. And so, so what I do is I will, at the very, where you put the text, they give you like a page or 2 pages at the most, where you can write your actual complaint. Okay? And so I'll say, they perjured their oath, they violated my rights under the color of law. I'll list generally all the stuff they did, because you don't have a lot of room. And then at the very end, as found in the affidavit attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference in its entirety. And I'll have like about a 100-page affidavit that I attached, and then goes through and does the same thing.
Wow.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because this is really slick. Anyways, this is the table of authorities, which I list all of the parties to offenses, mistake of fact, mistake of law. All of the sites that I had listed in there that he violated are all listed right here. Okay?
I think I would have to take off his job for about 6 months just to be able to do deciphering and read and study, or maybe a year.
So and then there's the notary. Okay, and so this is basically so all of them, and so this whole thing. Now watch this. This is the affidavit 1, right? And remember, it starts off here, preamble. I am amazed. Okay, and then it goes through and what happened. Okay, so remember that. Let's just do this, and then we'll do this. We'll go to affidavit 2. Jeff McCoy.
Real McCoy.
Yeah. Okay, it's the same. Actually, what I'll do is I'll put, the footer is what I usually change. I'll, on the other one subsequent to that, I do that. Affidavit of complaint. Right? So then, other than that, it's identical. Okay? And this one, actually, close that. Whoops. Second notice. See here? Yeah, this one is, and usually what I should have done is, well, we'll go to the affidavit of default. Okay, and so see it says affidavit of default, the footer, affidavit of default, and here. Okay, here's the affidavit of second notice. Right? That's the paragraph that I should have put in on those other ones, okay? Where it says, you, Jeff McCoy, are in default of the affidavit of complaint. So this is the first one I sent, is right here, okay? Served on you on April 6, 2015, okay? And then this is the default, so then he's also in default of the second notice, and that's this one right here, okay? So every time I add in, and then this is all the same stuff. It's identical to everything else that was there. And all I did was add in that one paragraph.
And this is just to collect money, not to charge him criminally, correct?
Yeah.
This is the civil side.
This is well, if there's, under Title 4, under Title 18, United States Code Section 4, which is misprision of felony, if the judge sees that there's crimes going on, he has a duty to report it to the FBI.
No kidding.
Oh yeah, you didn't know
How about
that?
in state law? Like, would that be
That's state and federal.
So this assistant prosecutor who ignored the crimes?
The judge if he sees that there's these crimes going on, he's supposed to notify it. Also, if all bar members under their oath of office, if you read their oath of office, There are requirements under the bar, their code of ethics, okay? They're supposed to report crimes.
Except if they've been committed by their client.
Yeah, really.
In which case they cover them up.
Yeah, that's about it. But anyways,
they're liars.
so this
All crimes
is
except their crimes.
the paragraph you add every time right here. Okay? This is the affidavit of default, so this is the paragraph saying he was in default of the first one, and this is the one saying is in default of the second one. This is the affidavit of default. I put in, what I do is I change the footer, and I'll change this right here,
Right.
and I'll add in that paragraph, and that's it.
That's it. Okay.
Everything else, on the affidavit of default, it goes to 10 days, so I change this too.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Now, when you sent this one, did you have this one notarized then?
Of course,
Okay.
of course,
Okay.
right there.
Right. There you go. Okay.
And is this in a common law, your common law court?
No, I'll file it, well, you can. I file it into federal court.
Federal?
Well, it depends on the issue, but you can file it into,
As I stated before, the FBI said I had to go, and I think we were only talking criminally, I had to go through all the state steps until I could.
what you have to do is you got to read the jurisdiction requirements under U.S. Code. Because 28 USC tells you when the federal courts, and so if you're dealing with local government officials, then they're probably right. Depends. You know, you have to read the requirements for jurisdiction.
Right, well, right now, after the assistant county prosecutor, if there's no remedy, then it goes to the county prosecutor. If there's no remedy, it goes to the state attorney general. And if he doesn't do anything at that point, my understanding is that's when I could go to the federal level.
Okay. Well,
Against the
that's
state
possible.
attorney general.
Huh?
I would go to the federal level against the attorney general because he is the highest.
Because he failed to do anything.
And that Kentucky case said he was supposed to basically protect, he had a duty
Right.
to the sovereign, which is the people.
Right.
So that's where I'm heading right now, just for exemplary
Okay.
purposes.
Okay. Anyways, so every time you add in this one paragraph, that's the affidavit of default. Affidavit of acceptance is the next one. This is the affidavit of acceptance. It's identical, except that this has changed. The certified mail number's changed. The footer has changed. And here, right here, they're in default of the affidavit of default, served on him by certified mail. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you just add those in, so that the numbers are going to bump every time. That's it.
Did you have any satisfaction with collecting a bond on, or this guy's bond from this?
Well, like I was saying, if you remember when I said I have a problem because I don't pay filing fees. And so the judges won't proceed without their extortion.
Well, how much would a filing fee be on something like this?
Federal court's about $450. I don't pay filing fees.
So, but the problem is, you went this far. So how, how do you...
Like I said, I don't pay filing fees.
Okay. But if you wanted to collect, you'd have to basically have it
Not necessarily, but
No.
at any rate, I'm still working on that.
Okay.
There's issues. Matter of fact, I filed a lawsuit against a federal judge, and right now that's in the Fifth Circuit right now.
Yeah.
Without filing fees.
It's actually yeah. He dismissed a whole bunch of my cases because I didn't pay filing fees, and
Attaboy, Glenn.
so again, yeah, he dismissed a bunch of my cases.
So once you get that ruling,
We'll see. It's probably going to go to the Supreme Court.
amen.
All right.
Good for you.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath. Anyways, so this is basically the same affidavit. I just added in those paragraphs, right?
Yeah. So again, if you want to go further, you have to basically at this point, I'd have to pay a filing fee for the federal.
Right. If
Because
you pay a filing fee, then you're going in there as a slave.
So there's no recourse then. Is what you're saying.
Well, there's no justice in these courts. Okay? Again, it has to be we the people. And the people are so brain dead idiot asleep at the wheel that this is what happens.
Okay, so they're basically keeping us from having, justice here. In this case,
It's all satanic.
Glenn, does a slave who enters that system, do the judges still have an oath of office or allegiance to the slave?
Yeah, but again, you got to get one of their buddies, their bar member buddies, to agree to it. And
Right.
are you going to be able to do that?
With the criminal complaint against the judge. Each
That's right.
judge.
That's right.
And as you say, go all the way up the chain. And I think the state attorney general would have to deal with the U.S. attorney general if he doesn't do what is right.
This is the affidavit of truth. Remember, all I changed was this right here
yeah,
and the footer.
yeah.
And I add in all of this other stuff, right? So you have affidavit of complaint, second notice, affidavit of default, affidavit of acceptance. It's identical.
So
Should that not be reversed, Glenn? Just in date sequence? Because you've numbered it 1
You
through
can
4.
make it however you want, but that's how
Yeah.
I did it, is you can make it however you want.
Okay.
I mean, it's your document, right?
could you bring this to a jural assembly and have
Yes,
Sometime-
yes. If there was a jural assembly I could bring it to, I would.
Okay, so if you have one in Texas or one that would be formed
The
soon.
thing is, you
Yeah.
got to understand that most people are afraid of this stuff. Okay, so that's the affidavit of truth. Now let's go to trying to close these things down, so it's getting kind of confusing. Let's go to how about, I mean, there's a whole bunch of people that were on here. The judge, Ed Keith Williams, he's the judge.
Okay, so it seems like you've gone through a
So-
lot of trouble here. I mean, all this, and basically not have any.
Affidavit of complaint,
Yeah.
it's the same footer.
Standing up for the Republic of Texas.
I take the same, right, you have here, this is where that affidavit, you, Jeff McCoy, okay, that's the beginning of Jeff McCoy's affidavit. In this case, you add in 3 paragraphs. You and Keith Williams are overall responsible for the action of your subordinates who are acting under your authority. You and Keith Williams are being overall responsible for your subordinates who know how they conduct their legal public business. You and Keith Williams being overall responsible for your subordinates either know of or condone the actions of your subordinates as follows. That's it. And this is modified here slightly to the preamble. Having superior knowledge, I'm amazed that sworn peace officers having superior knowledge of the law responsible for the actions of Jeff McCoy would condone and support his actions with total disregard for the rights of the people who are sworn to protect. And everything else is identical. It's all identical.
Isto dom spać.
Now, I take it the form of the affidavit itself is not specific to Texas. It's a nationally accepted.
It's just an affidavit. There's no real form.
Yeah,
I made this up, every word of it.
Okay, because I know there are certain ways that
The only
the
thing,
lawyers want them to be drafted in a particular way,
Well,
depending
whatever.
on the state or province.
the only thing that is the format. Okay, in other words, the preamble and these 3 paragraphs for someone who is a conspirator with Jeff McCoy. Everything else is I made it up. And
But each numbered line is a separate individual
Based
fact
on
anyway.
what you
Right.
witness.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. I witnessed. That's right. I witnessed him. He's
Sure.
supposed to know. He knew nor ought to know
You
this.
didn't exactly made up anything.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah. Well, it's what I witnessed.
So you remember specifically, you must have photographic memory then.
Well, it was fresh in my memory at the time, obviously.
You just wrote it out basically. Okay.
Was anyone to prove
and
he
that's the
doesn't?
best time to write stuff down, right?
Right.
And it usually when I put something like this together, it'll take me weeks or months even, and sometimes I might send it to someone else that's there. See, do you remember anything else in here that I missed? Who knows? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But again, it's your affidavit, so you have to be willing to say under penalty of perjury this is true.
Now, if you're brought into a police station and you've seen this cop, no one's giving you names or anything, because I've seen this happen. They want to fingerprint you. They want, you know.
I know, and there's no way you can. You don't have a pen or paper. You can't write anything down.
Right.
You know, all you can do is, try and remember what you can.
Yeah.
That's all you can do.
Just out of curiosity, what is either the reasoning for the search warrant and the investigation, and is there any
Well,
kind of result? Is it an ongoing
She was charged with simulating a legal process. What happened was she got married to someone, and they went and sold her house out from underneath her. And so then there was this mortgage, and then they left. So it was a bit of a scam that was going on, and they left. And well, what they did was they put a mortgage on the house, and then she didn't make the payments. They foreclosed, so she went and brought an action. And Krupa, the other guy that was mentioned in the warrant, was a common law judge. So they charged him and her with simulating a legal process. Right here. Susan Kamak and David Krupa. But, given international law, given international law and protected status under international law, they committed multiple felonies. That's stuff that we should have known at that time and didn't. Because we could have put a stop to it right then and there.
Yeah.
Is that U.S. Marshals?
The U.S. Marshals were there, the FBI was there,
No, they were
Texas
already
State
there.
Police was there, everybody and their brother was there.
It was a raid.
It was a raid, that's right.
So he was the.
So what event was that?
Well, it was a Republic of Texas Congress, and they came and they went and seized a bunch of stuff. They stole my laptop, and
Wow.
they didn't find anything, and
Wow.
and I never got my laptop back because I didn't want to. I'm not signing for it. You stole it. You give it back.
Right.
they wanted me to sign something, and then I had to go down to Kerrville, which was like 400 miles away, and it's not easy to be traveling that far. If I've been out of work for, that was in 2015, so at that point I'd been out of work since 2012, so that's 3 years. So I didn't make any big trips that I didn't have to make, you know what I mean? I'm not going to go down there. I said, you ship it to me. Anyways.
They should have sent it back.
They should have.
Yeah.
They're a bunch of thieves.
Yeah.
And now you would have filed a criminal.
Well, that's when I ultimately filed the lawsuit, and it got dismissed because I didn't pay the extortion.
Yeah, but that's why I like the criminal action where it doesn't cost a dime.
I know.
I mean, literally, it's so much fun to not have to pay to see them use their system against them.
Yeah.
Another question I have is these two people were, in your view, were they conducting a legal process or a lawful process, since it was under common law?
Yeah.
Is there legal?
Well, technically,
That's what I'm asking.
it's over a mortgage. Okay? So mortgage is legal.
Legal, yeah.
Okay? It's commercial paper.
So they were
It's
involved in a
when-
legal.
That's right. And that was, in my opinion, their mistake.
Right.
Okay? Is they shouldn't have brought a mortgage issue into a common law court.
There you go.
And really, because mortgage is commercial paper, it's equity,
Yeah.
it's
legal.
all in their system.
Legal, yeah.
It's negotiable instruments, it's all under Roman law.
Mhm.
And so,
Okay,
anyways.
thank you. That's
But-
clarifying. Very clear.
Under international law, we're all protected persons under international law. They committed felonies by coming in there.
Even if they were doing it
Even if there was a mortgage involved, that's right.
Yeah.
Good. And again, that's 5 years ago.
I know.
Much has gone on in our education.
Well, and
Yeah.
that was during the Obama administration, which was very corrupt. It's all the corruption's being exposed every day.
Plus,
Sure.
the gun situation coming across the border was going on.
Right.
Yeah, so anyways, this is all you do is you add in right here, these 3 paragraphs. You modify this preamble a little bit,
Mhm.
and then for everybody, it's the same thing. And then when you, like, this is the affidavit of complaint.
I take it McCoy is the chief investigator or something, or the lead
Yeah,
investigator.
he was the
which is
lead
what-
investigator, yeah.
Well, you were dealing with some very high-level people in their world.
Well, you're always dealing with those kinds of people. So then the second affidavit of default. Oh no, that's the default. So then here, that's where the 2 paragraphs are added in, right here. See, the affidavit of complaint and the affidavit of second notice, and this is the default. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you just, it's the same procedure. When you go from the affidavit of complaint, and then you go to the next affidavit, you just add in 1 paragraph. You're in default. I sent it to you. You're in default. Then when it goes to the affidavit of default, you're in default to both of these now. Yes.
So eventually, if you're able to, because you did the process, but because of the filing fee that you refused to pay because you don't want to slave, basically, you're waiting for something so you can go back, and then at that point when there's no fee, or
Well, again, my attitude is that because the judge didn't want to allow it to proceed because I didn't pay his extortion, that's why I filed a lawsuit against him. And he
Okay.
wanted to accept responsibility. So now he owes me his bond. And a judge's bond is like about $5 million.
oh, it is. Well,
Oh, yeah. They got a nice high bond.
so he knows he's basically has to step down, right?
I guess we'll see. He's a federal judge. They don't like doing that kind of stuff. He's a federal judge.
No, but you just said he admitted, or to being at fault.
No, he didn't admit anything.
Oh, you admit anything? Okay.
Not responded to
The
any of
evidence
it, I
is
guess.
he dismissed my case because I didn't pay the filing fee.
Okay.
Is there not something somewhere that's where you don't have to pay the filing fee? You are, even as a man,
Right.
you have access to the
They,
law.
what they
without
do is
fee.
they give you an impecuniosity affidavit saying I'm poor, I don't have any money. And I put NA in all the blocks and say this is not applicable, see attached affidavit. And in the affidavit it says that, income is corporate profit, so I don't have any income, but I do have property. I got lots of gold and silver coin, but et cetera, et cetera. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What if one included a silver dollar? Would that?
They can't accept that, first of all.
Why?
What they will do, I've been there, done that. They will say, okay, well, that's worth 21 Federal Reserve notes. We'll just convert it into 21 Federal Reserve notes. And oh, by the way, this is a lousy exchange rate. And that's what they'll do.
So there's no remedy until the jure government basically
Yeah.
is, and the sheriffs and everyone else that are,
Unless.
That's why I want to see them get their neck stretched.
Unless
Yeah.
the Attorney General, I found a case that makes the Attorney General of my state, his duty, it says, is to me,
Okay.
or the sovereign,
Right.
not the king. Because the king and the state used to be the same. And when that was the case, the Attorney General worked for the king and the state.
Right.
But now, under our democratic form of government of the people, the Attorney General is the one who has the duty to the sovereign. So once I established I'm the sovereign,
Right.
the Attorney General is the one man in this state, in their world,
Right.
that has, in my view, has an obligation to me.
Okay.
And I presented that information to my local city council last week, 2 weeks ago, gave them 30 days to get the answer from the Attorney General if in fact this is true.
Right.
And they ordered, the city council ordered, under my order, they ordered the city solicitor to get that answer.
Okay.
That's where I'm at.
So you're pretty close to knowing that then.
Exactly.
We'll
So,
see.
And I said, and if I don't get the answer, I promise them I will begin filing official misconduct complaints, which is a crime with a minimum of 1 year in jail, which they have the oath to me under the authority of the people.
Right.
But that only happened after I found out they didn't have the oath under the authority of the people for the last 20 years.
No,
And
they
I
apply to
forced
lawyers, but they're
65
going to assault you with them no
officials in
matter
this
what.
city to march into the city clerk's office and sign the proper oath.
Who can administer
They all know
property
that.
without right? Lawyers do it all
That's
the
why
time.
they ordered the city
But that would
solicitor.
be my question
Right.
too.
So you just need more people joining you here.
No, I don't
That
need
would
more
be
people.
me question.
okay.
I'm the king.
Prior to
Well, right, but if more people knew and did what you do,
anything
doing,
like,
they would, probably snap pretty quick.
Well, they're
Attention.
starting to step, yes, but I'm just like
Once
Glenn,
giving
and
charges
everybody does
or
their own,
before
we're all
giving
educating
charges?
people as we go.
Right.
question would go
And
to,
right
Yeah.
now,
I believe,
I've got the city
prosecutor.
council alerted, the county prosecutor is alerted, and
Well,
shortly the
I
state
mean,
attorney general
again,
will be alerted.
If
they're
you
also
ask a
considered-
prosecutor's a bar member. If you ask a prosecutor,
Yeah.
then
It's for
he's a
crimes,
bar
it's not a
member.
commercial
Okay?
problem
He's
yet.
Okay.
it's automatically when you
They
ask them a
violated
question,
my,
you're essentially
state
saying, I want you to
constitution.
represent
Right.
me and give me some
They
legal
violated.
advice.
so they did a crime against me, a trespass.
So you have to know the law.
So it's
and you
not
have to tell
related to
them
like
what
a
the
guy
law
who
is.
I'm trying to do
You
business with.
cannot ask them.
This
anything.
won't work in my
You
opinion.
have to tell them what the
Against-
law is. Commerce.
Wouldn't this be
commercial
more of a
aspect.
form of
Mhm.
confirmation?
It's only
Them
when
coming back with
now
answer?
the
Well, no,
bar-
they're representing you.
bar
They're
member
going to
that
tell you that
collaborated,
they can do anything
he
they
has
want
an oath of
because
office.
in
Right.
their system they can't.
So if
And
he
in their
does
system,
something
they don't even have an
outside
oath
of
of
the
office
law,
because you
now
are
he's
property, you're
committed a
one of the
crime.
slaves, they can do anything they
Yeah.
want in
So
their
if you
system.
can get him with a crime,
So if you go to
I'm
them,
about
how am I
ready to
property in
proceed
their system?
against my
How am
first
I
attorney, and
anyone's
this has only been the last 2
Because
months
I
I've
think that's what
gotten
brings
enough
back to
pieces
the
after
first
7 years.
question.
Wow.
Do,
So next week,
Yeah.
I'll be filing my first
do the rules
criminal
of civil
complaint
procedure
against
apply to I,
bar
man?
member.
Mm.
Not letting
And
the,
then so the second
state
thing
bar
is,
handle it. I'm
right,
letting the Attorney General handle
Okay.
who can
it, if the prosecutor doesn't.
administer?
Yeah.
So it's a
You know,
crime.
nobody can do it
Right.
without right, but
Bar
they can
member has
presume,
committed a
again,
crime.
that's all martial law.
Mhm.
All lawyers
So possibly
operate under
that's
the
where you
United
could
Nations.
Get,
so
the
that
reason
brings
they'll
us to the third
force the
question.
commercial
I don't know
aspect
if
to
I
pay
have
you
that formulated
is
the right
because
way.
the bar member that was involved somehow,
Right.
if there may not be a bar member involved, if there isn't, I kind of think I
Right.
wouldn't know what to do.
What
Right.
makes me a
Okay.
If
property?
there is a bar member who
can-
got his nose in
They
it,
assume
Yeah.
you're a U.S. citizen. They're operating
has
in
an
international
oath of
law.
office.
There's a
I
bar
wanna
treaty
hear
of
what he has to say.
1947,
Okay.
and it's got United Nations written all over it. And they operate in international law. That's where lawyers operate, is in international law. If you go to a lawyer and you ask him anything, you are essentially saying that I want you to represent me and give me some legal advice. Okay, you have to know the law, you have to tell them what the law is, and they'll probably still try and represent you anyways. But again, they operate in international law. That's why you have to file bar complaints, because I guarantee you,
But this is to a charging prosecutor.
or whatever, whoever it is, it doesn't matter. They're all lawyers.
Yeah.
The cop stops you on the side of the road. He's doing what the lawyers told him to do, and he's presuming that you're one of the slaves.
Read Luke 11:45.
I got you. So why isn't
Welcome
Kurt-
back to
Okay.
why isn't Adam right now? What's his status? Not being a slave, just a man.
Yeah, right. No man is a slave. It's all U.S. citizens or fictitious entities.
So when
Satanic Trust.
when they come against his U.S. citizen status, he is saying, "I'm not that U.S. citizen."
Essentially, it's a corporate denial affidavit. That's why you got to do the corporate denial affidavit, because you're not a corporation.
What is that?
It's all corporate law. It's all corporate law. Huh?
What is the denial?
What is it, or where is it?
Where?
It's in that thumb drive.
Everything's in the thumb drive.
It'll be in the
There's a
thumb
lot of
drive.
documents
So-
in there, so you've got a lot
The
of
corporate
reading.
denial is for
Right.
sure in the thumb drive.
So Adam, the reason I asked that question was to help you get to the
Yeah.
foundational first thing you have to do, to separate the man Adam from the
From the all caps entity.
Right.
Right.
right. All
And
right? That's why I asked that question.
that's
So
the
you-
Right,
that's
right,
the
right.
single most important thing you can do.
And then once you learn that and understand it, which I had to go through that whole process too.
It seemed like it would be so much easier to shove in anyone's face, or everyone's face, or anyone's face, that let's begin with a fact that
You are a man, and that's the fact.
I'm flesh and blood, see? Flesh and blood.
Right.
I'm not a
So-
corporation.
So when they address you,
When they address anybody, the only thing, there's a case called Penhallow versus Jones Administrators from like the
Are we too-
1790s.
hold on, let him
Yes,
finish,
sir.
please.
From like the 1790s. And anything the courts deal with is corporations, it's fictitious entities, and the contracts between them. That's the only thing the courts deal with. If that judge is talking to you, he's talking to a fictitious entity.
A dead man.
and that is
right.
what I wanted to say.
Sesticate trust.
See,
right?
when I'm outside of a courtroom, I can see who they talk to, because I'm holding a paper. It is written on the paper. But when you're in a courtroom, and the words that you hear are spoken,
And there's some people who only do.
Who are they applying to in what form?
Okay, I'll give you a little blow your mind things. First question that you would ask even a prosecutor, but especially a judge, when they are talking to you, is your belief. You can ignore them. Do whatever you want, and then they'll ask the question again. And oh, you addressing me? They won't answer that question. They shouldn't answer that. No, they shouldn't. No, they won't.
They will come back with the question, are you Adam?
They might come back with a question, but that did not answer your question. Are you addressing me?
So you could repeat your question. Let's go there.
Exactly. Are
Okay.
you addressing me? And they will not answer that question because they are not addressing you.
I can already see you railroading over that and say, okay, let's cut the charade, let's move on, we know who you are.
You gotta do it 3 times and then say maybe dismiss or something?
Yeah, 3 times typically.
Yeah, I'm going to put a metal...
No, because I stood up and I said, I'm the real man, and they couldn't.
That's
And
what
they-
that
and
movie
the guy-
was about. That's what that movie was about too. They say the
Yeah.
Wizard of Oz.
The barrister came, we're closed. This was like, so in other words, they can't deal. It just goes to show you, they can't deal with the real man.
That's
He's
right.
No, they can't.
Yeah.
But that's why I say that particular question, they won't answer it. Are you addressing me? Because they're not addressing you. They cannot answer. And actually, there's another, if you look up the
So now how do you
definition of
hang
you.
on that until it's answered?
They'll probably say, "Are you Anthony Clemens?" You know, like in my case, they would, "Are you?" And then when you say yes,
Well, define who you
Anthony
is.
Clemens, right?
No, define who you is.
That's
Are
right.
you-
That's another one that's going to blow your mind.
That's right. That's right.
What was it you just said?
Define who you is.
That's right.
Ah.
I
Yeah.
said,
Or
are you?
define what is, as per Bill Clinton.
Yes, exactly. Wordplay. It's all wordplay.
Yeah.
You is plural.
Yeah.
Ye is singular.
Oh Lord,
Say it again?
this is too deep. I
You
don't know if I can
is
do this.
plural. It means a group.
Well,
Ye is a singular.
but doesn't you apply to individual?
No, it doesn't. And that's why they screw you over.
Then I missed
Because
something in
if
my
you-
son's grammar book.
You don't know. You haven't
Yeah.
grown up with King's English,
Yeah. The old English.
the old English.
So when they say you,
It's like that. It's
What,
like-
what does a judge say? I find you, John Jones, guilty of...
He's talking to all of you. The man, the SSK, the
Corporation,
name,
that's
all
right.
of them.
5 men and the straw man
Gosh, I
together.
haven't heard this before.
Yeah. That's true.
This is crazy.
And
Told you, blow your mind time.
Yeah, thanks.
And so they're talking in
But-
a
but-
language. They're talking in their semantic English language, legalese,
right.
It's a
And-
spell. It's
and we
That's magic.
Yes, and you can break it by asking a question of them rather than responding.
Yes. You always ask questions if you can.
You ask the questions are in control. Basically, right?
Yeah.
And
But the problem is that they know this stuff, so they won't answer it.
Yeah.
They can't answer that question, are you addressing me? Because they're not. They're addressing the name.
So bottom line is, you asked it like 3 times, and you said, I'm leaving, or whatever.
Yeah,
So we don't wanna
once you
talk
understand that, you don't be in court most of the time anyway.
Right, right.
The only time that is an issue is when you're dragged in there.
What's the Old English? Ye,
Ye is singular.
which is Y.
Why?
Still used by Y.
Why ye? Well, you have a look, and preferably look at the as old an English dictionary as you can find. Actually,
I'm going to open Shakespeare
is
book
that part of
tonight.
the document I sent? It was part of the documents that I sent you. But I think it's got deleted now because it was on the Yahoo thing,
It's
wasn't
probably, well, I keep that stuff in my,
it? There's a PDF that I sent you.
But that's not used in the Bible. In the Bible would still be used he.
No. Ignore the Bible. It's the definition of the Old English.
do you remember
words.
what the file was called?
I don't.
I keep that kind of stuff in this directory right here. Because this is the stuff that I copy onto those thumb drives, among other things. But
Yes,
This is number one, the stuff that gets copied onto those thumb drives.
Who is you? I think it might be.
Who is you?
And if one goes, Adam, if you go in and watch a court session, when you're not the one who's responding, it's easier to understand.
Mhm.
Like when I was down in court after I learned this, I walked by the 20 people lined up that they had all sent out before me to pay their fines. And I had watched all of them get trapped
Mhm.
using you and all of that, the names. And they all agreed to go outside and pay.
Mhm.
So, like I found it, I was like watching, because I knew I would be last, so I wasn't worried about, I was just listening. And then when my deal was done, they were still out there lined
So
up.
what are you saying when you're what sounds as your name is being called, you just sit there.
You can ask these guys.
Well, the best thing to do. I mean, you
Still
That
on
you
the other
can-
side of the bench.
Yeah, well, you would never answer to that. Your best response to that, because you're there, is, I'm here to deal with that matter.
I.
Not-
Who is I?
I is I.
Right. I is the man.
I am
Right.
the man.
I am.
I, the real man, am here to address that matter. And they won't pay
Well,
won't
no,
pay
they'll
attention.
try to trap you to.
Yeah,
Well,
we'll
the-
try and trap you and, you
The
know,
judge will play stupid
get
and
you to
go,
admit for
go
the
on.
name, but you can say, you know, I am the man, I'm here to deal with that matter.
Can't you just make some kind of declaration that you don't have jurisdiction? Like, why am I here?
Yeah, typically you wouldn't be in court voluntarily at this point because previously you would have already noticed and, you know, returned whatever ticket or done whatever through the administration type process of getting in touch with the prosecutor.
Oh.
So you tend to want to deal with all this before it even gets to a court date. So if you're having to go into court, then you're going to have to deal and be on your tiptoes and deal with their word trickery and try and get out of or get the prosecutor to save the judge or save himself and dismiss the case.
Well, would it make sense to bring a copy of your certified birth certificate? And
Yeah,
say-
by all means, that's another one.
Yeah.
Because you can, it'll say, are you blah blah, are you addressing me? And they can ask you that a few different times. And I can say, Judge, I believe the prosecutor is asking for the well, I can't even say uppercase, but is asking for the straw man, the legal fiction, the person, and I have him here. If you want to deal with him, then go right ahead.
Or are you addressing me?
Well,
No?
you've got past that point,
Okay.
typically,
Okay. Yeah.
because that's the first thing. You
Right.
admit to being who you are,
Mhm.
but
And
you
so-
go past that.
And-
And because they won't answer it, so
Mhm.
once you've got 3 times, they will either do something to move on, or you then bring up, sir, because you never call him judge or your honour.
Yes.
Sir, I believe the prosecutor is asking for the legal fiction, and I have him here. If you want to deal with him, then go right ahead.
Is that something where you're not even supposed to walk too close to that little area? Like,
Or-
to
The
go-
bar
Is this
itself,
what
you're crossing
the
the bar.
prosecutor would charge that legal fiction? No, the prosecutor can charge anything. The judge establishes the fines, fees and fines. Can they still,
It depends what court you're in.
can they still, a traffic court?
Traffic court is the lowest court there is, and that sometimes can be a difficult one to get out of for the simple reason that everything's almost rubber stamped. They have everything, even on the date, they have everything pre-filed, pre-filled, all they have to do is sign it, stamp it, and push it through, because they have, 95 conviction rate.
Because
percent
although
conviction
from
rate
last
or
year,
more.
like I said, I was able to stop the court, like things stopped. They passed it onto motor vehicle. And the threat came from motor vehicle, that if I don't pay that fine,
Who is I?
Yeah, you need to
Right.
dismiss the case. All they're saying is that they found you guilty, stamped it, cleared. We don't want to deal with you now. If you don't want to pay the fine, then it will come out.
but
from
they
when
didn't
you-
find me, the court didn't find me guilty. But
They must have.
It was-
Because they have to have an adjudication. They have to have.
it was transferred onto motor vehicle. The motor vehicle came back and say, by this date or else the driver's license, the privilege of driving will be suspended.
No, it's failure to pay the fine.
We have to,
So
we
you
should probably see.
you were fined. You were adjudicated. You were fined, and if you failed to pay it on the date, then it would go through for motor vehicles, and they would claim it on your renewal.
Yeah, but he's talking about two different states, that's the problem.
No, here,
It
Jersey.
doesn't matter because it would still, whatever the fine.
Here in Jersey.
So
Yeah,
there's
wherever
this-
the fine was.
Is this related to the Virginia situation?
No. Last year coming to me, getting ticket for not reckless, careless driving. Well, basically, me,
No more
Bobby,
statutes,
and
yeah.
Anthony were coming down, cruising nice and easy by 120, whatever. And I didn't notice. My brother went on. I saw him sitting in the medium of the road. So
You were going
I didn't hit
120?
brakes. I just
You were going 120 miles an hour.
yeah.
Would that be a double quick? Oh, yeah.
Safely though,
Okay.
safely,
Safely.
yeah.
But see,
Absolutely.
but you're going up against the laws here. That's the problem.
Light traffic.
Yeah.
Nobody, pretty much, nobody behind me or in front of me. Minding my own business, talking to Bobby.
Thinks it's an autobahn.
So he didn't ride me for 120 miles an hour, as he claimed I was doing. Maybe I was, maybe I wasn't.
Well, some cars, can cruise at that, and it's like nothing. It's like going 50,
It is like nothing.
60. Were you in your car you have now, or another?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's designed for the autobahn.
I know where it's coming from.
So
'cause
that
I've
went on
driven
for
that fast.
months.
I'll tell you when I got excited. I was in Pennsylvania.
Trial helped me.
Yeah.
Let's finish this, Adams, and
Yeah, yeah,
move
go
on. But the question, Adam, is that why don't we deal with it? But we're close to helping give you understanding, so that we don't know if there's any way yet for you to go back and cure whatever the situation is administratively. And one of the things is am I correct, guys, that even now he could enter something in writing on the record, potentially?
Well, the court case has been dealt with. I'm assuming, from what he's telling me, the court case has been dealt with.
And consider closed.
Yeah, well, they've stamped off on it, fined, and then if you fail to pay on the day, and if you appeared, then they want payment on the day, usually, and if you failed, then it will then go to collections. Now it can go directly to their own collection.
Well, no, they send me
or
notice,
it
and
will
I
go
send
to
it
motor
back.
vehicles.
They send me notice, they change date, send me notice, I send notice, I wrote appropriately on the notice, and I send it back, green card, addressed to court clerk.
Maybe pay
Wait a
with
second,
what?
just let him finish, please.
Okay.
That's where I was going.
What we created with trial, I have that somewhere. The notice of special appearance and order of quit claim. So I wrote that on a notice and I mailed it back. Court date went on, nothing happened, moved again. I get another notice. I wrote that again, certified mail, back to clerk, and kept watching what's happening on online. Since now you can view what's happening, and the thing was just hanging there. Nothing was happening. But I got notice from motor vehicle.
So did you ever pay a fine?
I think I paid it through